you see portcos try to swallow automation for the first time, where do they usually go wrong? Where do they usually struggle or make mistakes?
I think it's needs assessment. So if the need is not clear in terms of, okay, are you automating to improve quality? Are you automating to remove hazard process, or automating to improve productivity? In many cases, the answer might be all three. In some cases, it's a specific one. Then you need to look at what is the true bottleneck and what's the existing uh, proven solution exist, and that does take a little bit more uh, deep dive in terms of pragmatic approach, but also relying on data. You do not want to walk into an automation implementation without knowing where do you stand today. So that's as much as it sounds simple, I haven't seen too many people doing it effectively. So that's another area we do support businesses with both validation and identifying what they really need, and then how to integrate or implement that in an effective manner so they can validate and get the return on investment they are looking for.
I would add to that too, Jason. I mean, there's for the middle market, there's a big difference for everybody in this example, but there's a lot of discussion around manufacturing 4.0 and what that means. And that's quite theoretical and nefarious for many organizations. But then if we get into what Ranjith is mentioning around developing a needs assessment and really getting very specific around what's needed and what the benefits are, then there's not only the implementation part, but also the understanding of how good are we at maintaining our equipment today. Because if we don't have the underpinnings of the right maintenance process, team, and capabilities and standard work, then that automation will go for naught because it won't be worthwhile. But even within the implementation of that automation, it's thinking very clearly on what level of automation is needed to be able to provide that support. And we've seen that in high volume areas, whether it's, let's talk about, charcoal manufacturing or other places where we've seen that request come through. And we've actually gone to a level of lifting the capability of both the responsiveness and overall capacity of the maintenance capability as we've been able to implement automation.
So essentially, automating bad processes is not a good idea.
Right, and it sounds cliche, but it is very true. And being able to think about all those aspects before we pull the trigger, and it doesn't take months to get to that point. It takes days to a few weeks to figure that out. But in the end, as Ranjith mentioned earlier, there's no silver bullet on many of these things, but being able to do that and take it in the right ways can really be helpful, because there's another aspect to this, as Ranjith mentioned earlier, being able to think through the talent acquisition and retention process has helped a lot of companies in the last couple quarters. That's been critical since there's been a dearth of resources to support. At the same time, when we look at how it applies to automation, many companies are looking to understand, because they just can't get the number of people. They're still short. Positions are still open. How do we deal with that? They're looking toward automation for this, but by following this process and these steps is a more reliable way to get there without having to make a many 5-6 figure investment up front, to where they can see step-by-step improvement over a shorter period of time.